August. The sun's still blazing, the back-to-school ads are creeping in.
Backpacks, backpacks, come get your backpack.
And technically it's still summer, but for me, August is the unofficial start of spooky season. It's when the vibes shift, just enough to start craving something eerie. Not full-blown horror yet, but a taste of the weird, the offbeat. The kind of thing that makes you go, wait, isn't this supposed to be a comedy? That's what this video is all about. TV shows that aren't known for being scary. Sitcoms, teen dramas, sci-fi adventures, but every once in a while they'll throw in an episode that got a little creepy. Now, not all of these are terrifying. Some are just spooky in tone. Some are silly. Some go full camp. But they all stand out because they gave us a taste of the macabre in a place that we weren't expecting it. So let's kick off the spooky season with 10 eerie, creepy, or just plain weird episodes from shows that usually kept things light. Let's kick things off with one of the most legendary creepy episodes from a show that was never even remotely scary. Well, unless you count Homework. Boy Meets World was your classic 90s coming-of-age sitcom. Life lessons, school crushes, Topanga, Mr. Feeney's wisdom, all that good stuff. But in this episode, things took a sudden and ridiculous turn. And then there was Shaun dropped in 1998, right in the middle of the teen slasher renaissance. Scream had rebooted the genre with self-aware meta-horror, and just 1 year earlier, I Know What You Did Last Summer had pushed the hot teens in danger trend into overdrive. This episode is a love letter to that entire movement. We get creepy phone calls, including one that straight up asks, "Do you like scary movies?" Fake out jump scares, ominous messages written in blood, and even a killer stalking the school in a classic black coat and white mask combo. And just in case the I Know What You Did Last Summer influence wasn't obvious enough, they bring in Jennifer Love Hewitt as a guest star. And the second she walks in, Eric Matthews just pounces on her. Like no joke. He immediately starts making out with her, kissing her neck, and she's barely gotten a single line out. As a kid, I remember thinking, oh, now it's a little more like, is she okay? Still, the episode's a total blast. It pokes fun at slasher cliches while clearly enjoying them. And it actually gives Shaun a surprisingly heartfelt character arc buried under all that campy chaos. It's spooky, funny, and just unhinged enough to make you double check that you're still watching Boy Meets World. In this playfully spooky episode, Rob, Laura, Buddy, and Sally head to a mountain lodge for a weekend of brainstorming with Alan and Mel, only to discover that Mel forgot to book the rooms. The lodge is full, but the desk clerk offers one last option, a secluded cabin that hasn't been used in years. The reason? The last person to stay there, a wealthy man named Amos Chance, mysteriously vanished, and rumor has it his ghost still haunts the place. Rob and Buddy agree to take the haunted cabin, but decide not to tell the women. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay secret for long. Strange things begin to happen almost immediately. Lights flicker, rocking chairs move on their own, and Laura sees a mustached ghost staring back at her in the mirror. Even the man who delivers their firewood seems like he wandered in from a Vincent Price movie. As the tension rises, one by one the group members start to vanish, until the last remaining person is left to confront the supposed ghost. But in a classic sitcom twist, it turns out the whole thing was an elaborate prank. Alan and Mel were filming a pilot for a hidden camera style show, and Rob, Laura, Buddy, and Sally were the unknowing stars. With a mix of well-timed scares, excellent physical comedy, and an eerie setup, this episode is a standout example of how the Dick Van Dyke Show could deliver laughs even in a haunted house setting. It's a clever, spooky detour that plays on horror tropes while showing off the cast's impeccable chemistry. The 90s teen slasher boom. A glorious era when seemingly every show wanted to dip a toe in horror movie waters, and Dawsons Creek dove headfirst with the scare. A loving and at times hilariously self-congratulatory tribute to all things spooky, stabby, and screamy. This one came out in May 1998, deep in the post-Scream renaissance, and it shows. The episode opens with Dawson and Joey watching I Know What You Did Last Summer, which series creator Kevin Williamson also wrote, only for Joey to shut it off in disgust. Dawson's response? That movie rules. Subtle, Kevin, real subtle. It's wall-to-wall horror references from there. Prank calls, fake blood, a serial killer on the loose, and it all takes place on Friday the 13th, though for some reason there's a classroom discussion about Halloween and John Carpenter instead. Pacey even asks Dawson if he's going to dress as Michael Myers. Did they not get the rights to say Jason Voorhees? There's also some fun genre casting trivia. Scott Foley, who plays Cliff in this episode, would go on to appear in Scream 3, while Michelle Williams, Jen, later shows up in Halloween H2O, which Williamson did a little uncredited work on. Between all that and the constant chatter, this episode is basically a slasher Easter egg hunt. It's campy, atmospheric, and not remotely scary. Oh, and can we talk about how Dawson keeps going after Jen when Joey is clearly the better choice? Look, I know it's early in the series, but come on, man. This episode isn't just a spooky detour, it's a full-on love letter to the teen horror craze of the 90s, written by one of the guys who helped define it. A perfect slice of Dawson-flavored slasher cheese. Long before Married with Children turned into a full-on cartoon, it was a mean-spirited sitcom with a pitch-black sense of humor. The anti-Cosby Show for anyone who hated their family, their job, and everything in between, which means it's perfect for me. And while the show rarely dipped into horror territory, the season 2 premiere, Poppies by the Tree, is basically a 2-part slasher movie with a laugh track. Al surprises the family with a vacation, and since he's Al Bundy, it's the worst one possible. He drags everyone to a rundown Florida motel called Poppies by the Tree, where the plumbing's bad, the locals are worse, and every 5 years a guy shows up to murder tourists with an axe. The last time it happened was 1982, which makes the Bundys visit just in time for the next round. The whole thing plays like a mix of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Motel Hell. Everyone in the town knows what's going on, but they'd rather place bets on when the Bundys will be killed than actually help. One local even jokes, yeah, they'll be wanting one for the paper, when he's asked to take a photo. It opens with a black and white prologue showing the killer in action. From there we get all the classic slasher beats: stormy weather, slashed tires, a washed out bridge, a killer under Alan Pegg's bed stabbing up with a machete, and even a tragic backstory. Turns out the killer's just a guy whose parents worked themselves to death running the motel for ungrateful tourists. Naturally, the townsfolk still love the guy. There are some legit creepy moments here, even if they're played for laughs. If Boy Meets World had their Scream moment with And Then There Was Sean, then this is the Texas Chainsaw through the eyes of a sitcom that doesn't care if anyone lives or dies. It's grimy, weird, mean, and somehow even more dysfunctional than the Bundy household. And that's saying something. Some nightmares just stick with you, and if you were a 90s kid with access to Nickelodeon, Zeke the Plumber probably dug himself deep into your brain and never left. He only appeared once, but that was all it took. The story kicks off with Budnick telling a ghost story about Zeke, a camp plumber who met an explosive end after hitting a gas line with his shovel. Now, why didn't he smell the gas? Well, it's because his nose had been previously bitten off by a parrot. Because sure, why not? Now his ghost supposedly haunts Camp Anawana, searching for his lost plunger, and if you're unlucky enough to touch it, Zeke shows up in your dreams and hauls out your deepest fear. Michael and Telly find that out the hard way, both haunted by dream versions of Zeke that lean hard into Freddy Krueger territory. Burned face, invasive dream logic, and a weapon of choice that's somehow even grosser than claws, a toilet plunger. For a Nickelodeon show, the imagery gets surprisingly intense, and Zeke's look holds up as a decent low-budget horror villain. Eventually, the campers band together to give Budnick a taste of his own medicine by scaring him with a fake Zeke sighting. But Budnick's ready. He's rigged the whole area with traps and distractions, like he's Kevin McAllister preparing for the Predator. The plan fails until Budnick runs face first into a spiderweb and completely loses it, revealing his greatest fear. Classic overconfident villain downfall. While it never confirms if Zeke was real, the episode doesn't really need to. The dream sequences, creepy makeup, and campfire vibe are more than enough to sell this spooky tone. Zeke may not have made it past episode 2, but ask anyone who grew up watching this and they'll remember him. Freddy Krueger with a plunger, and one of the most unexpectedly creepy one-offs in Nickelodeon history. Confession, but I've never actually really watched Psych, but I have watched the Friday the 13th franchise more times than I can count, and this episode is absolutely drenched in it. Tuesday the 17th is basically Friday the 13th fanfiction disguised as a crime comedy. It opens like any typical slasher film from the 80s, a woman alone in a cabin being stalked by a killer, and once we meet the bag-headed killer, it becomes crystal clear. This is pretty much part 2 Jason cosplay. Even the name of one of the characters is Jason Cunningham, which is pretty on the nose. I mean, you've got Jason for Jason Voorhees, and Cunningham for Sean S. Cunningham, who directed the 1980 original. The setup? Sean and Gus head out to their old summer camp to investigate a suspicious death. And pretty soon, people are vanishing and there's a masked maniac with a machete. There's even a crazy old man riding a bike warning everyone they're doomed. A direct riff on Crazy Ralph. It's not subtle, and that's what makes it great. About halfway through, it pulls a swerve. Turns out the whole thing was part of a staged murder mystery camp experience. That is, until someone starts committing actual murders. So now we've got a meta slasher inside a slasher situation. There's lots of jokes, fast talking, and buddy cop banter. But the horror references are so spot on that it feels like the writers were working off a Friday the 13th checklist. Creepy cabins? Check. Power outage? Check. Red herrings, slow chases, fake outs, and an actual body count? Check, 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 and check. If you're a slasher fan, even if you've never watched a second of Psych, this episode is worth checking out. It's a clever love letter to camp horror, and it knows exactly what it's doing. Jason will be proud, or at least mildly flattered. I'm not super well versed in Star Trek, but this one felt Lovecraftian as hell. The Enterprise stumbles across a ghost ship floating in space, full of dead crew members who apparently lost their minds and killed each other. They find one lone survivor who's barely hanging on, and soon after, the Enterprise crew starts losing it too. Getting paranoid, seeing things, turning on each other. There's no monster stalk in the halls. Instead, the fear creeps in slowly as everyone slips into madness. It's like Event Horizon Light. Dead crew, disturbing hallucinations, and a disturbing transmission from the previous captain right before things went sideways. There's some really creepy imagery here too. Riker waking up to find Snake slithering, Crusher seeing corpses in the morgue sit up around her, and Worf nearly taking his own life after becoming convinced there's no hope. And while the scenes with Troy floating through space and hearing a disembodied voice might look a little goofy, they kind of work in a dream logic sort of way, like a haunting recurring nightmare you can't shake. The reveal at the end that it's all caused by some telepathic aliens trying to communicate through Troy's dreams doesn't totally land for me. It feels like the episode takes this incredibly eerie psychological buildup and ends it with a bit of a sci-fi shrug. But up until that point, the tension and surreal horror vibes are strong. If you're a horror fan curious about Star Trek, this is one of the few episodes that genuinely leans into the unsettling. You don't need to know much about the series to enjoy this one, just prepare for a slow descent into space madness with a side of corpse hallucinations. If you ever wondered what it would look like if Knight Rider did a Halloween special while also paying tribute to Psycho, this is it. The episode is soaked in 80s style and kind of hilarious in the best way. Bonnie moves into a new apartment and thinks she witnesses a murder. Someone in a gorilla suit attacks a woman across the courtyard. But when she wakes up, there's no sign anything happened, and of course, no one believes her. From there, things just get weirder. Creepy mirrors, missing keys, and red herrings flying everywhere. Especially the very suspicious building custodian named Norman Baines. Yes, really, Norman Baines. The psycho nods are everywhere. They even use the actual house set from Universal Studios and throw in a pretty on-the-nose homage to the famous shower scene. There's spooky music, suspenseful moments, and Michael and Kit trying to keep up while the episode leans into horror tropes, just with some added car jumps and smooth one-liners. Also worth mentioning, a man in a gorilla suit nearly runs Michael down at one point, and it's as ridiculous as it sounds. Later, there's a great moment at a drive-in theater where everyone's watching Creature from the Black Lagoon until Michael crashes straight through the screen like it's nothing. And then there's the random goblin that shows up in Bonnie's bathroom mirror. It turns out to just be a hologram, but it's so out of nowhere and stupid that it loops around to being kind of amazing. Honestly, the whole episode feels like a fever dream written by someone who watched Psycho, Scooby-Doo, and Knight Rider back to back while chugging Halloween candy. It's goofy, chaotic, and weirdly charming, and definitely deserves a rewatch, especially if you're into the so bad it's good side of spooky TV. This one's pretty wild. It's Halloween 1964, and instead of helping someone like usual, Sam Beckett leaps into a horror author and immediately finds himself in the middle of what feels like an actual haunting. Dead bodies, a mysterious black mamba, self-typing typewriters, and one of the strangest twists in the show's history. Right away, it leans into Halloween vibes. There's a creepy old mansion, a black cat, and even a handyman who falls to his death after a goat appears out of nowhere. Sam starts to lose his grip on what's real, especially once his usual holographic sidekick Al starts acting weird. There's also a kid named Stevie helping build a haunted house, and if you're a horror fan, his full name is gonna make you do a double take. The episode doesn't outright say it, but if you catch it, you catch it. By the end, things spiral into full supernatural mayhem, as Sam has to do battle with the devil himself. Well, they spin around in a circle more so than they fight. It's not your typical Quantum Leap episode, but it's easily one of the creepiest. Whether it was all real or just in Sam's head is left vague, and that ambiguity is what makes it so fun. It's the kind of Halloween special that messes with your expectations, especially if you're used to the show playing by sci-fi rules. Definitely worth seeking out if you want a spooky one-off that feels like the writers got possessed for a week and ran with it. Now, this is the whole reason I wanted to make this video in the first place. I used to own this episode on 16mm film, and it's always been one of my favorites. I Love Lucy is pure comfort TV. Every episode is basically the same formula. Lucy comes up with a harebrained scheme, and everything immediately goes sideways. And this is really the only way I could ever justify talking about this show on my channel. But I think this one qualifies. It dips just enough into spooky territory to make the cut. Lucy and Ethel have gotten into numerology and horoscopes. They're eating up every newspaper horoscope and occult book they can find. Ricky thinks it's all nonsense, but before heading to the barber, Lucy insists on checking his horoscope. It's a yes day, or so she thinks, so he's allowed to leave. Then Ethel realizes Lucy read the horoscope from yesterday's paper. Oops. When Lucy finally reads the correct one, it tells Ricky to basically hide in a bunker and not talk to anyone. Naturally, when the phone rings, Lucy thinks it's the barber and yells no on Ricky's behalf. But it turns out she just screamed at an important business contact. Whoops again. They rush to the man's office, a Mr. Merriweather, only to find he also believes in horoscopes. And even better, he totally gets it. In fact, he's dying to contact the spirit of his beloved Tilly. So Lucy says they just happen to know a great psychic. Enter Ethel, now posing as Madame Merzola. During the fake seance, both Lucy and Fred end up trying to voice Tilly from beyond the grave, except then Mr. Merriweather asks to speak to his wife Adelaide. That's when things go fully off the rails. Lucy and Fred both think they've accidentally summoned real ghosts. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, Ricky drops the final punchline. Tilly wasn't Mr. Merriweather's wife, she was his Cocker Spaniel. It's more silly than spooky, but I genuinely think this episode is hilarious. It plays with seance tropes long before they became horror movie staples. It's also got that classic 1950s charm, where everything is high drama over something as simple as a missed phone call. And for being nearly 75 years old, it still makes me laugh out loud. And well, that's 10 spooky episodes from non-horror shows. I hope you had as much fun revisiting these spooky little detours as I did. Whether it was haunted seances, surprise serial killers, or a Knight Rider episode so dumb that it might get its own Halloween video, these episodes prove that even the most wholesome or ridiculous shows couldn't resist getting weird every now and then. Let me know in the comments if there's a creepy episode I missed, and if you want a part 2, I've already got a bunch more lined up. Until then, I hope you're having a great start to the spooky season. Thanks for the support and stay spooky!